Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
I heard there's some kind of code or like secret message in their music.
I'm pretty sure that's not true. Jesus wouldn't hide a message in a message. There's nothing to solve, you know. It's silly wasting your energy on something that doesn't matter.
Welcome to Wake Up Heavy, my weird dad's weird podcast about weird movies.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of Wake Up Heavy. On this episode, I am joined by Sam Panico of B&S About Movies.com to discuss David Robert Mitchell's ambitious yet messy sun-scorched-Neo-Noir-comedy-thriller Under the Silver Lake. Andrew Garfield plays Sam, our hapless protagonist, who is pulled into a labyrinthine mystery after a brief encounter with his neighbor, Sarah, played by Riley Keough, and her sudden disappearance. Sam is bombarded by cryptic codes, conspiracy theories, secret societies, subliminal messages, underground zines, backward masking, LA hipsters, and an incoherent parrot. Damn it, I messed it up. As he searches for a truth that may be better left uncovered. Let's leave that goof in for the heck of it. The film also stars Riki Lindhome as actress, Callie Hernandez as Millicent Sevens, Topher Grace as Bar Buddy, Zosia Mamet as Troy, Patrick Fischler as the Comic Man, Jeremy Bobb as Songwriter, Don McManus as Final Man, Luke Baines as Jesus, and Jimmy Simpson as Alan. Much like the movie itself, this episode dips and dives into many different points of reference, which ends up being a whole lot of fun. Since Sam and I discussed a lot of other stuff at the beginning and end of the recording, I will be putting that out as a separate bonus episode within a matter of days here. And just a note of clarification, since we kind of just dive right into this and hop around the movie and reference characters out of context, Jesus is not the biblical Jesus, obviously. It is the lead singer of a band that pops up throughout the movie a number of times and whose music may or may not include secret codes. The songwriter is a character that comes in at the very end of the movie and kind of unravels the mystery for our protagonist, Sam. And the episode isn't spoilery per se, if only in the vaguest ways possible. So if you haven't seen the movie, a lot of this probably won't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. I do suggest that you watch it first, if you can. But if you don't, none of this will make sense. But then when you go watch the movie, maybe a lot more, maybe it will. So either way, you know, I don't care which way you do this. But it is on Amazon Prime right now, streaming for free if you have a subscription. It is a long movie, but I think it is absolutely worth your time.
You ask me if love, come on in. When I go tired,
I saw you spying on me earlier.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Good.
Nothing strange about it. She wanted to leave. How does that not make sense?
I don't understand why she didn't tell me.
Maybe she didn't like you. Maybe she knows you're poor and haven't paid your rent.
I found some kind of code or like secret message in her apartment. It means to stay quiet.
Our world is filled with codes, subliminal messages, from Silver Lake to the Hollywood Hills.
Could any of this be connected to Sarah?
I know this girl.
There's a message in the music.
Really think you're gonna find a hidden message in a pop song? 1, 2, 3. Can't quite see it, but I'm close.
Honey, how are you?
Mom, I'm fine. Mostly fine. Why do we assume that all of this information is what we're told it is? Maybe there are people out there who are more important than us, more powerful, communicating things in the world that are meant for only them and not for us.
Yeah.
Oh, you think that's weird?
A little. Welcome to Purgatory.
Good to be here.
You're living in a carnival, hoping to win a prize. What are you going to win?
Under the Silver Lake.
I'm trying to think of where to start, where to dive into this thing to get us rolling, because I just rewatched it and added a couple more notes, but this is sort of fortuitous. I had seen your review and was surprised to see that you liked it, and I was waiting for it to show up on Prime so I could watch it for free, basically, or through my subscription. Mm-hmm. And I had been looking forward to it since I saw the trailer. And part of that was because I did like It Follows, but also because this looked like right up my alley with the Violent Femme song playing over it, the codes, subliminal messages, all that stuff is stuff that I have been interested in since I was a kid. And then, of course, it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And I thought, oh, crap, this is going to be a turd when it comes out or whatever. And so I was happy to see your review. I really liked it, too. And I thought this could go either way, but it has everything that I have liked since I was, in my late teens and early 20s. And there's so much stuff in it. My original idea was I was going to sit here. When I watched the movie, I just scribbled every reference that I could catch, and I was just going to rattle that off, and that was going to be the episode, basically. So I have 6 little steno notepad pages of references, and that was going to be the episode. So maybe this will be a little bit more interesting for people to actually have a discussion instead of me doing that. But
I would be interested in that, too. You should do that as like a bonus part to this.
Well, I can read you the first half a page real quick. Let's see what I just straight from the beginning of the movie, and maybe this will trigger something. So it starts with "Never My Love" playing inside a hipster cafe. Our lead is wearing, or somebody's wearing, a Jim Morrison T-shirt. We've got the male gaze, and then it looks like I move out of the cafe, and I've got Dead Squirrel. Long Goodbye balcony shot. Seventh Heaven is on TCM that night. There's a blonde outside with a dog. She's an actress. I just wrote down actress. I'm not sure what some of these notes refer to. He's got movie posters throughout his apartment. There's a Kurt Cobain poster. There's a billionaire missing. There's a parrot, and nobody knows what it's saying. We've got Playboy from 1970. This is the first thing that our protagonist masturbated to. Intelligentsia Coffee. We've got a zine, Under the Silver Lake, Beware the Dog Killer, and Skunk. And that was my first little part of notes there.
I was kind of fascinated with finding this movie because it leaked like right before Christmas. And then it disappeared and it got taken down and nobody could find it. And then, like you said, the release date kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And I'm like, okay, so either this is going to be like a tremendous, like Southland Tales like failure, Well, not to me, I mean, but, to the general public. Like I said, someone spent $8 million to create a movie that made $45,000 in its first weekend, right? And so when I saw the trailer, though, I was like, wow, like this... he got me with the It Follows trailer, because I think it's the beauty of like the A24 style trailer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you see it. Trailers mean more to me than movies. I have like tons of trailer collections, because to me, that's how I got into advertising, was because Herschel Gordon Lewis was also an advertising guy. And he structured he actually invented, spam and direct mail. Like he was like a huge direct mail guy. When I first broke into advertising, someone gave me a book from Ad Age about, the top agencies in the world and what you can learn from them. And it was written by Herschel Lewis. And I was like, that's really weird. That could be Herschel Gordon Lewis. This is pre-internet. Mm-hmm. And I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, they're the same guy. So that's like it's kind of like, okay, so that's my Under the Silver Lake of like, this influence in my life of loving gore movies is now an influence in my life of what I do for a job. So,
thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Herschel Gordon Lewis for Spam.
He wrote maybe 50 books about it too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, but it's all advertising works that way. Like headlines are the same ways that work on his posters, and that's the way trailers work to me. So I saw the Under Silver Lake trailer, and I was like, wow, this movie looks, like you said, it answers everything. And then the fact that I couldn't find it, and I had to keep waiting for it, and it wasn't going to come out in the theaters. I think that was its own weird non-release strategy that maybe made me like it more because of the occult nature of it, like the occult meaning hidden. Do you know what I mean? Like that you wouldn't be able to find it. So that's what I love, because it literally starts with, you can start to see, it's pretty much a movie for people that go on IMDb all the time and try to find the references in movies. Right. Like it started right at the beginning with like the animal patterns on the animal heads on the shirts are all a code of warnings and who people are. And then I did zines all through the 80s. So it's like seeing that zines were telling these stories like, oh, okay. It's really weird that it's like, how did this movie come out from a major studio and have these things in it? It's kind of strange.
Well, and probably why they lost all confidence in it, I guess. I mean, it sounds like since it bombed at Cannes, that was sort of, which seems strange to me that would have scared them so badly to keep pushing it back. And I don't think they were pushing it back to like have the film to do reshoots or have it restructured or re-edited or anything. It was just it's supposed to come out in June of last year. Doesn't. Yeah. And I wouldn't think about it all the time, but then I would see, like, whatever happened to that movie? Because I don't expect things to play here. Midsummer played here and Hereditary played here, but those got, pretty big initial buzzes from festivals or whatever. So some of the A24 movies do play here. I didn't ever expect this to play here. So I always just have to wait, like, okay, now it's on VOD, so that means maybe 3 or 4 months it'll be on Prime if it's an A24 movie. So I just kind of didn't think about it, and then I would see, once I think I got onto Twitter because of the podcast, then I would start to see, like, oh, this keeps getting pushed back. Yeah. Why is A24 so scared to release this? And I'm thinking, well, that's weird.
He stopped doing press. The director, pretty much when he realized, like, he did some cursory press when it came out, when he realized that A24 kept moving it back. I think once they got Ari Aster and their roster, they kind of got films that they could sell.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that a couple of major city releases and VOD same day wouldn't have hurt. I don't see how that could have been a problem, but it just seems like they were done.
Hey, Rob Zombie movies keep playing in theaters, and I don't know how that happens.
I agree with you there.
You should hear, we did a podcast literally minutes after we saw 31 and paid like $25 each to see it, and that's probably the angriest I've ever heard my wife. Outside of the night I made her watch Hudson Hawk. She was really upset about that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of his films, but I did watch 31 because it showed up on Shudder, and I was like, okay. Lords of Salem is the one that I can stomach. I've only watched it once, but
Rob Zombie's Ken Russell, The Devils.
Yeah, I don't. They're not movies that I return to. That's
My
for
wife
certain.
has watched the one you just mentioned, the Salem one. She has watched it like 5 times, and she says, "Well, maybe this time it'll be better." And I've told she's in the shower now, so I can say this. I've told her a million times, movies don't get better with rewatching. They usually. Yeah, some do, but this is not one of those ones.
Right. Every once in a while, I pick up on a movie that I like much more the third time, but it's rare. But that you mentioned the animal heads on shirts, and that's something that I totally missed. And all my little note taking or whatever, I caught the animals. Like there's a lot of statues and art pieces that have animal figures in them, but I didn't even make that connection with the clothes that people were wearing. And that's, I think, to me, like a main point to this movie. And this was one of the notes that I scribbled down actually after I had about a week after I watched it, and I just put, every reference is there for a reason, and the reason is to make you think there's a reason. And that's the thing that can be ultimately really rewarding for certain people and really frustrating for certain people. Like there's so much going on. I'm trying to look at every poster on his wall. Okay, there's a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock posters. That makes sense. We've got Rear Window in here. We've got his grave at the cemetery when he goes there. We've got the whole noir. Not that Hitchcock was known for noir necessarily, but there's that runs through a number of his movies. And we've got him sitting out on his balcony, just like Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window, all blah, 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 all this stuff. And
it's like Vertigo. It's the constant searching for the girl that may have been that perfect girl.
Yeah,
that
there's
disappears.
That. Totally. And I love the line.
A lot. Good.
I was going to say, I love the line at the end where, when he finally encounters her again, not to be too spoilery about it, but I'm not too concerned about spoilers on this. I'll put a warning at the beginning. But, he says, "I've been looking for you." And she's like, "Really? You hardly know me, or we just met," or whatever the line is. And
well, I think that's the way I look at it. I kind of literally put in my review, I could tell you everything about this movie, but it depends on what lens you watch it through. Because you could see it as the hero sees it, that as Sam sees it, that he's the hero of the movie. Or you could see it, again, massive spoilers, you could see it that he's the villain and he's the dog killer.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could see it that he's completely insane and things are happening that he's attributing conspiratorial, magical things to, seeing himself as the center of things, when we do the same thing when we watch the movie. It's kind of, that's what I love about it. And I've watched it a couple times trying to watch it through each of those lenses, even to the point where does the casting of the actresses matter? Riley Keough is the granddaughter of Elvis Presley,
right?
So she is literally the child of royalty. Is the old man playing the piano Elvis, or the person that inspired Elvis? And is she really his granddaughter? The other strange thing is the girl who plays his actress is the girl from Garfunkel and Oates, Ricky Lindhorn, who was sexually harassed. Lindholm, who was sexually harassed by
Weinstein,
by Louis C.K.
Oh, okay.
She's one. Both of them were the women. So, is there a message in the fact that Sam would rather masturbate to the Playboy over and over again than have sex with her? Because she should be his dream girl. She's blonde. She's an actress. But literally, as he's having sex with her, he's looking out the window and checking out the nurse and the old woman. The girls that live next door. So is that what it's about? The thing that I really, when I kind of recommended it to a lot of women that I talked to about movies, I said, there is a lot of male gaze in the movie, but to me, it's subverted, especially in the scene with the drones, where you think that you're going to get that moment, that like American Pie moment of getting to see something on the webcam, and it's probably the most real moment in the movie where the girl just breaks down.
Right. As he's talking about our paranoia with being spied on and everything online, and that's exactly what they're doing, and so you have that angle too. And
to me, it's like, it's kind of like, played against Sam in the, Woody Allen wants to be Humphrey Bogart, and Humphrey Bogart becomes his friend in it, and he gets involved in these things. And it's like, I think if you're a movie, it kind of hits close to home for me, because you want to be the star of these movies. Like, you would want to be in a film noir or a Hitchcock, or to me, like a giallo kind of movie. And that's what it feels like to me, where, especially in the giallo, it's always about a foreigner that comes to a country and suddenly has to become a detective because he or she is wrapped up in something that they don't understand. But they're so fascinated. And there's always like the mistaken identity, and also, is it a murder? Isn't it a murder? Like, especially if you follow the bird with the crystal plumage logic, that he thinks he's seeing the girl get it. Spoiler for that movie. He thinks he's seeing the girl get it. Like, if they came out in 1972, all right.
Right.
But he thinks he's seeing the girl getting attacked when really she is the attacker. In the same way, he thinks that she's being taken away against her will when really she's going because this is her will to live under the Silver Lake.
Right.
So it's like, to me, like, there's a lot. You kind of become this hero in your movie, even if you're the villain.
Yeah, which is what he is, basically. I mean, he's not a horrible guy, but there's a couple instances in the film where he's really not a good guy. With the little kids that are vandalizing the cars, and beats the shit out of both of them. And
the egg in the mouth is the craziest part.
I mean, it's a little much. They're doing bad things. They're kids. They're doing stupid things, but that's a little over the top. And then, grabbing the girl in the bathroom, and then of course, with the songwriter, everything's just a little more than would be, I think, considered normal or adequate violence. In those situations.
And pulling Jesus off of the toilet too.
Yeah,
and
I was going to bring that up. At some point, and we'll get back to that.
Well, also, the fact that amazes me is, even though you put skunk in your notes, even though he's been sprayed by a skunk, he sleeps with every single woman. Like, it literally follows the path of the detective fiction. Like, there's always the sort of, is she evil girl is always the brunette. Right, and she's the one that has to die, and like, it's when he's swimming with the daughter of the millionaire, and like, there's always a scarlet woman, like an evil redhead. That's the girl who was the actress that became, like, he sleeps with all of these different archetypes, even though he smells like a skunk, and he hasn't changed his shirt for the entire movie. But yeah, he's irresistible to every single woman he meets, which that to me is like, leads me to believe that this is a fantasy narrative and not actual reality.
Yeah, I think he's set up to be, the representation of the male gaze, and there's going to be a lot of people that maybe miss that, and I mean, that's fine too, but it's very obvious. I mean, Andrew Garfield, as just as a person, he's a decent-looking guy. I don't really objectively consider him a stunning guy, but like you say, every woman is just ready to. He walks into the party towards the end of the movie, and he's wearing a T-shirt and his pajama bottoms. And the second he walks in the door, the girl says, "Oh, I like your shirt."
Yeah, exactly.
It's a white T-shirt, and he's just kind of a lanky, goofy guy with an oversized head. And, he's not ugly or anything, but he's the star. He is the star of his own movie, and he's gotten used to that. And, it's very easy for him to apparently lure women into his home or wherever. One doesn't have to be in his home, but
it's like the actress that repeatedly visits him, brings him sushi, which is not cheap, and brings him when he's covered with the smell. She's the one that brings tomato juice over and pours it on, and it's like, this is like every man's ideal. This blonde actress, and she's just like a means to an end to him. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, he's not so attractive that. He's not like a Tom Cruise character. They're like, oh yeah, I can see that happening. Like, it was surprising to me that I thought when she first appeared that it was going to be like either an ex-girlfriend or a sister or like a friend, not somebody that, was romantically involved with him. And then to have him move past that, where it's like, it's almost like there's a lot of the invisible in this movie too, where it's like, it is the male gaze too. He always wants something that he can't have.
Right. Well, which is like the driving force of the movie, I guess.
And I think we've all kind of lived this, where it's like, you think that you've built in your head this relationship with someone, and then it's surprising where you don't know them at all. Like
Right.
you've invented this ideal in this space in between of who they are. And I think conspiracy in a way exists like that too, where you've invented this story, like whether or not Paul is dead is true, take a music conspiracy. There's so much built up within these songs, like the fact that 39 If is on the Volkswagen, or 29 If, that's how old he would have been if he had.
Right.
It's like it's amazing to me that conspiracy started with one DJ talking in the middle of the night in New York, and then kids in college heard it. When they went home for break, they told their friends. That's how my mom heard it. And then at some point, a magazine got published and came out about it, and it's like, and then it just became accepted that Paul is now Billy Shears, and my generation had Nikki Sixx getting turned into an android after overdosing, which is not as exciting.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, he was supposedly a tool of the Church of Satan. That's how I got into music, because I had a teacher in 6th grade that gave me. I wanted to be a priest until I was like 12 or 13, because I was really into the pomp and circumstance of it. And this teacher thought I could help my fellow students, and he gave me like this. Remember, like mimeograph when it was like purple, like he gave me a sheet and it had all the bands I should warn my friends about. And when I got to Black Sabbath, I was like, well, I really like old horror movies, and I love like the Road Warriors, the Wrestlers, because they came out to Iron Man. I'm like, Black Sabbath sounds really cool. So I did the exact opposite. As I sit here wearing a Trick or Treat t-shirt.
Well, I went to a private school, and so one of our, I forgot what they were called, assembly. It was like an assembly, but it had a different name. And they brought in a guy to talk to us about, backward masking and all. I mean, it was like every band that I liked. The Goathead Soup from the Rolling Stones, Hotel California, which wasn't a favorite, but my sister had that album.
Yeah,
and supposedly Anton LaVey or somebody was in the picture of the in the background in the hotel, and Pink Floyd brought up Pink Floyd, all these bands, and I'm thinking, man, I'm doomed because I like all these bands.
Well, I figured it was like, they're like, Aleister Crowley shows up on the cover of Sgt. Pepper, Sgt. Pepper, and he does. He's really there.
Yeah, but one of the cutouts,
Yeah, but like even bands like Styx were getting called out, and like, do you know what I mean? Like, and bands that had nothing to do with it. And then, you get older and you start listening to Slayer and like even, black metal and even worse stuff. And you're like, maybe some of that, I could probably tell people some good stories now.
Well, the message is right there in those, though. Just like they, who is he talking to? The balloon girl. Is it the balloon girl?
Yeah.
Sam is talking to one of the girls, and he's asking about the hidden messages, and she's like, well, he wouldn't put a message in the message. What do you? It's right there. The message is there, and so I wanted to get back to, this is sort of how my mind worked. So I wanted to get back to the Jesus on the toilet scene for a second there, which I was a little bit surprised by, but it made me laugh. So he tracks Jesus down at the chess party, which is strange in and of itself. Who has chess parties, So get all these guys together, and all the same beautiful women that have been running throughout the film are all there. And so he follows Jesus into the toilet. Jesus is defecating, and he pulls him off the toilet, and they show what's in the toilet. So that was surprising. And I actually had to pause it because I was like, what else is in there? And so this is suffering for my quote-unquote work here, and actually stood up and walked over to the TV to see what it was, because I thought, well, that's not peanuts. You think that's kind of the joke there, that there's peanuts in his poop or whatever, but I don't know. I still haven't figured it out. But as I was doing that, I realized, it's in the shape of a triangle. His bowel movement is in the shape of a triangle, and there we've got another symbol here. And this all sounds ridiculous, but I'm thinking, well, there's a reason that they showed this. And then I didn't think about it too much more than that. There's a reason we're showing this. I know that he's got a poster of Psycho in his room, Sam does, and I actually watched Psycho around the same time, just while I was working at home, to have it on as background. And of course, Psycho's famous for a number of things, but one of the things is that it was the first movie to show a toilet and to have the sound of a flushing toilet in it. And I was thinking, well, this is the ultimate progression from that. It's kind of like the bone toss in 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's like you don't need to see anything else in between there. We go from, these apes realizing that they can use tools to kill people to the space station and orbiting in outer space. We don't need all the history in between. So we've got Psycho with, flushing toilet, and now we're actually seeing somebody's bowel movement in the toilet, and they zoom in on it. And so, that's how I was like, this is ridiculous, but I guess that's the point.
Is the triangle shape the Triforce from the Legend of Zelda poster, which also is symbolic of the pyramids that are under the Silver Lake that the modern day pharaohs go into?
Right, which is what I figured, for triangles, and we've got numerous triangles in the movie and the pyramids at the end, and so there's a point to it, but it's also completely pointless to show this guy's poop in the movie.
Oh, well, the thing that's funny to me is everything feels kind of false at 2 points in the movie. In the narrative, to me, is whenever Sam's talking about how important Kurt Cobain was to him, and yet the poster he has of him isn't signed by Kurt Cobain; it's signed by Francis Bean, which wouldn't make any sense. Like, why? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So is he such a poser that he just needs to have some moment of nirvana in that? And then, not to jump ahead to the songwriter part, but the part where I think he realizes that everything in the world is kind of BS is whenever the Pixies song plays, because at the end of Fight Club, that's the movie that signifies that capitalism is being destroyed. As the buildings are getting taken down, and in this movie, it's just a throwaway that I wrote that, and it doesn't matter. None of these songs matter. So all the music that we've put together, especially Smells Like Teen Spirit for him. These songs that really meant something don't mean anything.
Right.
And I think at first he's very slackery, and, that's a very easy way to be for somebody that, doesn't really have a job and is gliding around and has this like fabulous life, but doesn't really do anything and thinks that life's, that he knows all the answers, but then the answers kind of get taken away in that scene. I think there's some real power in that part of the movie.
Yeah. I missed actually, I had to pause through the credits at the end to see all the songs that were being played. Yeah. And I had missed that, which Pixie song is it?
Where is my mind?
Yeah. And a couple other ones I had missed as well, because he's just kind of tinkling along and talking at the same time. So going back a ways to when you mentioned Riley Keough and being the granddaughter of Elvis Presley, and I started thinking about that when I was watching it this second time, and I thought, are a lot of these people the kids or grandkids of famous people? So I started looking up some random names, and I know that David Mamet's daughter is, one of the girls, that ends up in the cabin at the end. Mm-hmm. She's the one that knees him in the nuts in the bathroom. Now I'm forgetting if I found another one, but then I started to think about it. I'm like, there are way too many people in this cast to try and figure that out. But that's what happens. You start thinking, well, okay, the granddaughter of Elvis, this is the daughter, or I think it's the daughter of David Mamet, or maybe his I'm pretty sure it's daughter David Mamet. Who else do we have here? And
you only need three because all women work in threes in this movie.
Right. And even when he walks into that party at the Standard Hotel, what is she saying? The Holy Trinities.
Yeah.
Out of town. Holy Trinities of women, and then something about the male gaze.
The other thing I really think is cool is beyond even the way the other reason I started to fall in love with it is even the songs that are played in it reveal like plot points, like Never My Love playing whenever he sees her. It kind of telegraphs the end of the movie, right? That
right.
She's never meant for him. And then like, I love that Brimful of Asher is playing like the Corner Shop song when they're in the Cemetery Club, because that whole song's about a longing for the history of the past of Indian film and the longing for romance that those films create. Mm-hmm. In the same way that dead celebrities create that. And even What's the Frequency, Kenneth is, it takes its name from a man on the street yelled it before attacking Dan Rather. No one knows what it means. So it's a conspiracy song in itself. So even the songs and the points that they come in, like, I think that's why I like this movie, because it feels like today people just shoot things when they make movies. Outside of maybe Tarantino thinks through a lot more than most folks when he's not, shamelessly aping Shaw Brothers movies. But I love him, but I've seen all the same movies, right? So like whenever the music from Fulci's The Psychic plays, I'm like, yeah, I saw that same movie. You don't need to hit me with it. But I think so many movies now, especially maybe because I watch so many bad streaming ones, is people just get a camera and shoot it now. In the same way of graphic design, I broke into graphic design when people were still doing things with press type and wax. And it's like, now it's so easy to make things. So whenever there's some artistry and people start to figure out, like, here's why I cast this person and here's why these songs are in it and these things all add up to something. That's probably why I like this movie way more than It Follows. I guess, did you see that even some of the hobo code shows up in It Follows?
No.
Yeah, there's a scene wherever she falls in the grass and you can see the code for "this is not a safe place" that comes up.
Right. Doesn't she, and also she puts is that what you're talking about when she puts the blades of grass on her leg?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even catch that. I remember thinking, what is that? What's the point of that? And I think what I had read was saying something about, she's a cutter or something, and this symbolizes the cuts on her leg, which I don't think she had any cuts on her legs. No, she did. Did she?
No, she didn't. No.
Okay.
It's crazy because he actually hired this guy, the Copial Cipher, to help with this movie. That he's one of the people that broke most of the Zodiac code in the last few years.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Because the first time I watched it, I missed that whole thing with the 3 Barbie dolls when they were watching How to Marry a Millionaire. I knew it was code underneath. I paused it this time and I was like, oh shit, that's Zodiac code.
With that, and then the same thing, there's a thing called what 3 words that are used for geocaching. And you set up 3 words within a code, and those 3 words, when combined with the coordinates, will tell you where to start your geocaching. So that's used throughout the movie too. And then I did look up the T-shirt codes add up to the first letter of each animal, add up to BWARDOGKILR, which is Beware Dog Killer. The next person you see after that is Sam, and that's like the first shot in the movie. So,
did you figure out the codes on the Barbie dolls?
I did not figure out I know some people have. The thing that I can't figure out is what the hell does the Vanna White sending codes to people?
I looked that up too, and I didn't find anything. That sounded familiar to me when I was watching it the first time.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's a real thing or not. So that's the great thing about the movie. It's like, well, now I want to find out all these different conspiracies that I wasn't aware, or not. I mean, I don't know if the Vanna White thing could be considered a conspiracy more so than just a, random secret code, but
just like a throwaway conspiracy that he thought was funny.
Yeah,
like because Paranoia, the one zine Paranoia back in the 80s was filled with stuff like that, and it was always to me as like how much of this is disinformation and how much of it is true.
Right,
and like. My favorite thing that I actually was happy that I picked up myself was when Sarah talks in the pool. All of her dialogue in that movie is from Something's Gotta Give, which was the movie that Marilyn Monroe never finished. So she pretty much word for word says the dialogue of the last scene that Marilyn Monroe ever shot. And that's the last time we see her before she disappears. Which is super deep cut, right? But that's what this whole movie's about. I think the other thing, too, is I kind of looked at it, another way to look at it is that Sam being an untrustworthy narrator, which doesn't happen a lot in mainstream movies. It happens a lot in Giallo, where by the end of the movie you realize that the killer, you've been identifying the killer as the hero, right? Like Lizard in a Woman's Skin's a lot like that, the Fulci movie. And I think the thing that's cool here is like, especially whenever Sam's kind of become this main character in all the movies in his head. But then the other crazy people, like the zine guy, like when he kills himself, the owl woman is the symbol of suicide. Like she only shows up at the lowest points in people's lives. Like whenever Sam thinks he's losing his place and that he can't find her and he's about ready to give up on it, that's when the owl woman shows up. And so I've read a couple theories about that that's what she does. Or you could see her that she's a real person or that she's a real urban legend. I thought the scenes with her in the movie were really cool. They kind of, in a way, remind me of, like, my favorite part of the movie Signs is whenever you see the aliens in Buenos Aires and that one alien just walks past the camera real quick where you never really see what it is. Like, that's the scariest part of that movie to me. And that's what I like about this, like the scene where she kind of comes out of the window and she's like kind of folding herself into the room and like walking strangely. Like, that's the coolest part of that shot for me.
I loved it when he turns around and he's got the gun pointed at her and she's like, yoink, and runs out of the room. I thought it cracked me up, man.
It was like something out of the 60s Batman. Like, he just like reacted and just ran out.
I'm out of here. At first I was thinking, when I first watched it and he was watching her on the videotape, I was thinking it was his friend, me
too.
Friends with Benefits, 'cause it had kind of a similar build. And then, that whole, when comic book guy, and see, the great thing about this movie is that none of these characters, very few of them have names, which works for me because I can never remember characters' names. I mentioned this on my show before, so people are kind of used to it. But so it's great. I don't know if comic book guy is his official character title, but it works. So, but when he's showing him the dollar bill and circles that little image in the corner. When I was growing up, I think we were told that it was a spider or something like that. That it had woven the web that basically runs throughout the front side of the dollar bill. But when they showed it in close-up, I was like, holy shit, if that doesn't look like the owl's kiss mask and her torso. And I was like, that's amazing. Because that image is on the dollar bill and they somehow worked this character to look however much I'm filling in with my head, it worked.
Well, I think that's, to me, like, I've studied a lot about conspiracy theories, and what works in them is, so you can look at the world as this chaos of place where the Big Bang happened, everything's been a chemical reaction. But to me, like, a conspiracy theory is our attempt as humans to try to ascribe some normalcy that someone has to be behind everything, versus like things just randomly happening. So I think that's what the beauty of this is the deeper you get into the film, then you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, the first conspiracy person I met as a kid was a guy that was crossing out all the UPC codes on tabloids and I was like 10. My parents weren't around. Back in the 80s, people just left their kids in the magazine section and shocked. And I said, what are you doing? And the guy told me all about the Mark of the Beast, and I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. Between that and Jack Chick stuff, I was convinced that the end of the world was coming back then. So then that's what's funny about this movie is, like, it really does that same thing, because by the end of the movie you're like, oh yeah, that's how that ties in. And that Legend of Zelda map is a real map. I had that map. All the stuff in that is all real. And like, I think that's the other part of the movie, especially for guys, like Nintendo kind of taught us that don't believe what you're seeing in the actual map. Like, there's hidden areas within games or there's cheat codes to get to places, and that's a lot of people in Chaos Magic believe that that's what Chaos Magic is. It's cheat codes for the universe. To him, like, that's how, like, imagine, I think a lot of people see the world as really boring, and in this movie they say there's a place in the world where nobody can see via Google, and it's not on any map, and the girl you love is in that place. Cool. Tell me more.
That's a lot more interesting than, she packed up and went back to Bakersfield or wherever she's from. So
yeah. Plus, of course, she's living there with a rich man and two other women,
right? Preparing
to ascend into godhood.
We ascribe patterns where there aren't any, and that's just our nature as well. And I really love the idea of conspiracy theories. There's not very many that I believe in, but it's always been so incredibly fascinating. And I think the part of the movie that maybe didn't work for me so much was the end, where we kind of, find that out, that it's, all these things that you've been following all your whole life and that have meaning to you are meaningless. And I almost would have liked it to have had that, like, aha moment for him.
I think it did, though. Maybe I'm saying it in a different way than you, so not to interrupt. But.
No, go ahead. I mean...
But I think, to me, it's like, there's a part, and I love David Yao in this movie, the king of the homeless people.
Yeah.
From the Jesus Lizard. Like, he's amazing in it. And, like, whenever at the end he's like, were you going to kill me? He goes, I don't know.
We might.
But it's kind of like, that's what life's like, right? Like, you could something could happen at any minute. Like there's not really a plan for it. And I think that if we're looking at through the lens that he's insane and this is how he's seeing life, is like he is starting to realize that he's not a hero anymore. He's not the hero of the story. That things just happen, and that he could die. He might not. We're not really sure. And then he goes back and he ends up sleeping with the older woman that he's always wanted to sleep with. And he's so close to the bird, and he still can't figure out what the bird says. And he watches them breaking into his house, and he's lost everything, but he still has something. And it's like, okay, I guess this is life. Like that to me was the revelation he got at the end, where it's like, oh, maybe I need to just realize that I don't have to be in Rear Window for my life to have meaning. A different way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, I think it's maybe two sides of the same coin in a way.
Yeah.
I was just a little dissatisfied with him just standing there, and that may just be...
Well, the performance artist even says at one point, there's nothing to solve. Like, it's silly wasting your energy on something that doesn't matter. And to me, it's like, is Mitchell talking directly to me? Right.
And multiple people tell him that through the movie. You know, I mean, there's no message. He's not putting any messages in the music. The songwriter tells him that everything is meaningless. She says, there's nothing to solve. Or the mysteries are fascinating because there's nothing unexplained anymore. What is the line that Topher Grace says? Her bar buddy, I think, is his character's name. His purpose in this, for me, was, that great line about when Andrew Garfield is kind of complaining about what's going on with him. And he's like, well, that's entitlement and narcissism 101.
Narcissism and Entitlement 101.
That is him, and that's what I liked about the movie, is that, yes, we've got the male gaze, we've got the straight white male who, can sleep with anyone at the drop of a hat. The phone calls with his mom kind of seems like his mom has enabled this in him.
Yeah.
Not that he's a mama's boy, because he's kind of dismissive of her, which, I guess is where this all starts, with his relationship with his mom and being dismissive of women. But we have that, we all know guys like this whose moms doted on them, and so they kind of grow up expecting this.
From everybody, yeah.
Right, and so it's not really any big shock to him that he gets to sleep with all these girls.
But I think, too, the fact that his girlfriend broke up with him, the one who's on the billboard for most of the movie, like that's what sent him into a tailspin, I think, where it's like he's had this entitlement, like you said, and he's gotten whatever he wants from everyone, from his mother to every other girl in the movie. Right. And this is the one person that can't be around him.
I must have totally missed this the first time I watched it, because when he explains why he has the dog biscuits, I was like, oh, that makes sense. He's waiting for her to take him back, and she's got a dog, and so he wants to give it a biscuit and rub its ears or whatever he says. And I was like, oh, without that line later on, it kind of it was one of those scenes that seemed irrelevant to me, but now it makes a lot more sense.
It's funny because I didn't realize it was his girlfriend the first time, and I thought the billboard, especially about seeing clearly, was a nod to Scientology, which is the most conspiratorial of all religions in Hollywood. So I thought that it was about being clear and finding clarity, from Scientology. And then it wasn't. Obviously, it was about...
Or was it?
Or was it? I think that's the beauty of these kind of movies, where it's like... And it's the movies that I love, where it's like, hey, this is totally the way that I see it. I feel like the dude from, like, that's totally how you want to see it, man. But, you can see it however you want it. I think the funny thing is, like you said, you were surprised that I liked the movie. I wasn't sure I liked it until the credits. And then when Strange Currencies played by R.E.M., because I love that song, I was like, what an amazing song to end the movie, right? And like when it came on, like I was like shocked, because I'm like, wow, like this all adds up. And then it literally, as the credits were coming up, like I want to watch this again so I can come back and see it. And it's just weird that like the music did that, especially after watching a movie that told me that all the music that I love doesn't matter because one old man at a piano wrote all of it at some point, which is very much like a Barry Manilow reference to I Write the Songs.
Right.
That song always scared me as a kid, because I was like, did God write every single song? Like that didn't make sense to me as a child. I was really happy though, because like whenever there wasn't really, outside of the Pixies, there wasn't a band that I really cared about that got lumped into all the bands that he had written the songs for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I'm like,
right.
if there's a Clash,
they're
song,
safe.
I'm going to be really upset, right?
Don't play a Black Sabbath song.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Ozzy. Yeah, Crazy Train.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, my favorite is that Axel F gets played as one of the songs, which is like so weird. Like how does this happen? And like it's funny too, especially like "I Love Rock and Roll" is an interesting song to pick because Joan Jett didn't write that song.
Right.
It was written by Alan Merrill and Harris. Like nobody will ever know that that's who wrote that song. In the same way that no one will know that this old man wrote it. At first you're like, oh, he's only going to talk about manufactured groups, and then he moves into like, you know, Iron Butterfly and even like Salt and Pepper and you know, Pinball Wizard. It's funny to hear these songs of like, especially Smells Like Teen Spirit and Crazy Train that are like these songs of youthful rebellion being played as like these cheesy piano ditties. I love the thing he says. He's like, oh, that song that meant everything to you, that was just a cash grab written between blowjob and breakfast. Like that's like, and then like you said, like why does he go so crazy with the guitar? Like he didn't have to go. Things did not have to escalate to this level unless we're seeing that this is all within Sam's head.
I really liked when they went up, when he hopped the fence and went up there, that it was an obvious matte painting. For some reason, see, that's kind of stuff that I was like, oh, that's beautiful.
I love matte paintings, though. Like, they're the best when they happen.
One of the things that I really latched on to, other than the conspiracies and stuff, was the idea of L.A. noir, like sunburn noir. This had me thinking of The Big Lebowski. It had me thinking of Inherent Vice, Chinatown, when he goes out on the little paddle boat. And
it reminds me of Mulholland Drive a lot, too, where it's like the identity switches. And Inherent Vice, definitely, which is another shambling mess of a movie that I love that everybody hates.
Didn't work as well, for me at least.
It's also it's one of those, like, I love whenever someone tries to make an unfilmable book into a movie,
right?
And it's like, except for Watchmen, but that's a whole other story.
It also made me think of The Long Goodbye, which ended up being, that's probably like my favorite neo-noir movie of all time. And when he comes up and is first spying on the and I'm not sure what her character name is, the older gal with the parrot, and it just reminded me of when Elliot Gould first goes up to his apartment at the beginning of The Long Goodbye, and there's all the little hippy-dippy girls doing yoga topless outside of his place. And
it also feels like that even though this movie supposedly takes place, it has drones and things in it, and it takes place in 2016 or 17. Like, it really, like you said, it could be any time. It could be when The Long Goodbye was in the early 70s, this early 70s Hollywood of pre-blockbuster time. You know what I mean? Like where it doesn't have to be, and those movies all have ambiguous or incredibly negative endings.
Right.
and you know, I always joke, like any 70s horror movie, like everybody's going to die. Like nobody makes it out. And this is, so like, that's what I liked about it too, where it's like, it doesn't really feel like it exists in any real place. Here's the other weird thing to me. It's like, why it reminds me of the past. Like, of all songs for the girl to sing on her performance night, like, why does she pick To Stir With Love, which is a song that, like, nobody knows?
Yeah, thank you for, I'm like, I know this song.
Yeah.
I should have had my Shazam out, because some of that music stuff I missed, and I was like, oh, yes. And when you're talking about the girl saying those lines in the pool, I'm like, this sounds so strange to me. This has to be from something. So again, something I totally missed, but you get that it's like, this doesn't sound appropriate for the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of is, but it seems really forced.
The other thing that I got, one thing I didn't get, all right, is whenever the daughter of the millionaire dies, she looks exactly like the girl from the cover of Playboy that he's obsessed with. Yeah. But I don't get what the orange juice and saltines thing is. I haven't tried it. Maybe I was wondering if it was, there used to be a really famous conspiracy guy, Keys is his name, that always talked about all the hidden messages within advertising. Mm-hmm. And one of his things was if you stacked enough Ritz crackers up, it would spell sex down the side every time. So I drove my family crazy with this. I would always keep tilting Ritz crackers to try to find the hidden message. I've kind of lived some of this movie maybe a little too much.
all the ads they show. I mean, if you look up stuff like that online, like that's one of the first things I looked up when I had internet. You know, you see it when you're a kid, like on the Camel cigarette packaging, there's supposedly some guy taking a leak or whatever. You hear about all that stuff, but you don't really have a lot of access to it. You know, in the 70s and 80s. And so when the internet came around, I remember specifically looking that up, like in chat groups and stuff, like images. And so a lot of the ones that I saw were the ones that they showed in that little quick clip scene there. But I had not heard the one about Ritz crackers. So
yeah, Keys is like that's like what if you read some of his stuff, like, when I broke into advertising, I was like, I remember thinking, like, when are we going to get to the point where we put the subliminal messages in? And there's no time to do it, trust me. Unless it happens after it leaves my studio. Like, that there's like a time. I have put messages into almost everything I've done, but it's always song lyrics. Like, I put so many Smiths lyrics into stuff, and it just makes me laugh to get them in there, and I figure no one will ever get them. We had a character for a restaurant here called the Frowny Brownie. He was like an evil brownie. And the biggest one I got in was a Smiths reference, because he said, I make every day feel like Sunday. And like, I'm like, no one's going to get that the Smiths are super depressing. And this character is like supposed to be depressed. And like the creative director I work with on it is the biggest Morrissey fan. I've seen him like 5 times with him. And like, he was so overjoyed that when it got printed, like he was like, I can't believe that you worked this in. So that's a victory, I guess, there.
Yeah, that I kind of wish they had shown a little bit more of that. That was, you know, that's the kind of, and the stuff in the comic book characters' apartment. I was trying to figure out who all the life masks were, and
yeah, I was kind of hoping that they would put the comic books out with the Blu-ray. Do you know what I mean? Like to see like a longer cuts of them and some of the other stories that were in it. Because like the one story he tells about the man being upset that his woman became an actress and left him, that is pretty much, and who, you know, the guy who became the dog killer, that's the same story of Sam. Like his girlfriend was an actor and left him, and did he become the dog killer too? Or is this just a cycle of life and how things happen in Hollywood?
And I looked that up as well and thought, well, is this based on a real thing that happened? And I, you know, found very little. I didn't find that story, but I found the Edendale stuff, and I had actually heard about that before. I had looked up, I think, Keystone Cops at some point for some reason, and how that area had once been called Edendale, and it was basically Hollywood before Hollywood was Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then the whole stuff with Janet Gaynor and all that, I was like, okay, well, was she part of that? And then it looks like she actually came around when studio production had actually moved to Hollywood, so that wasn't a connection, but, you know, there's the painting by her in there. The movie that the mom is watching is with Janet Gaynor. He wakes up at her grave.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, well, what's the big deal with her? And so I looked her up, and she was killed in an automobile accident when she was 82. So again, it wasn't like a Hollywood conspiracy or a Hollywood, you know, one of those stories that got pushed out of the papers or whatever. It wasn't, what do you call it?
Like when Confidential was getting printed and they ran fake, you know.
Right.
They had to fight to get stories out. Have you ever read Hollywood Babylon? Because that might help you with some
years ago. I mean, I wouldn't even remember if she had been in it or not.
I was obsessed with both. I'm still obsessed with both of those books because Kenneth Anger wrote them, and he's literally the filmmaker that created MTV style editing, like in Scorpio Rising, and he's also a weird connection between multiple conspiracy theories and the occult, like because like Bobby Beausoleil played the music in his albums after he was in the Manson family.
And he wasn't he involved with the guy that was at the Jet Propulsion? There's a show about him right now.
Yeah, Crowley's involved with him because he was Crowley's main guy in the U.S. and also,
and they were buddies with L. Ron Hubbard, and
because he created the Babylon working, which is this ritual to try to see this. I'll tell you, this will show you how weird I am. The Babylon working is the ritual that was supposed to create his dream woman, who was the whore of Babylon, who would usher in a. It supposedly opened up the area around Area 51 because that's where they did it. his wife, Marjorie Cameron, went on to be in the movie Night Tide with Dennis Hopper. She plays the witch in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in a ton of Kenneth Anger's movies, too.
Yeah.
His movies I have the Blu-ray of all his stuff. So, like, when I remember, I didn't know anything about Kenneth Anger when I got Hollywood Babylon. And so I read it numerous times when I was younger. And I was like, I love to read the Inquirer and stuff like that. And so this was like an ancient version of the Inquirer. Mm-hmm. And then when I read it again after learning all the stuff I've learned, it's like, oh, the first line in it is a Crowley line that every man and woman is a star. So it's like, there's like tons of occult code within that book, much like this movie. So it's
right.
It's a good primer. I think people should. It would be a good combine this with it. There's also a horrible movie that got made from it that nobody should ever watch.
Actually, you know what? I think it's the movie that I saw and not the book that I read.
Oh, you should read the book because the book has tons of crazy deaths and suicides and things that were covered up by the studio system.
Yeah.
And how the Hays Code came together.
We rented it from Tower Records years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's what I'm remembering. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's 2 different books. The second book wasn't allowed to come out for the longest time because there were pictures of Marlon Brando having homosexual sex in it. And it came out in France and not here. And the lawsuits were... There was another lawsuit from Belushi's family before Wired came out because there were a lot of... he kind of broke the story of Belushi's drug death before Wired. And so there was a lot of... it was, for its time, it was a pretty incendiary book. Now it's not.
Right.
That's what I love is the things that could destroy people's lives back in the days of Hollywood today, don't.
Right.
They're
old hat now.
Poor Montgomery Clift. His life was destroyed by and now it's you'd be fine.
Yeah.
In the same way that Zima died in the 80s because people thought the conspiracy that it was the gay drink. Now with social media, it probably would have succeeded.
I don't know. It tastes pretty bad.
Oh, well, it was the runoff of... sorry, I know way too much about Zima. It was the runoff of malt liquor that they reprocessed. It literally was...
And that's what it tastes like, so...
It stopped being sold because Colorado had a law that you didn't have to print anything for the carriers for it. You could just sell the bottles. So literally their profit margins were so low that when Colorado changed their law that you had to print something, it was too much for Zima to get sold. That's why they stopped making it. They tried to relaunch that brand 9 times. There's a crazy Slate article about all the conspiracies that started on college campuses about it turning people gay. The world was a lot different in the early 90s before the internet when people could tell you the truth.
Yeah. No, I know. I lived through it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the beauty of this movie is it works. I can't really think. There's a lot of movies, obviously, that people ascribe meanings to after they're done. But there aren't too many movies that are almost custom made for this kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Take it head on, from the beginning. Look, there's going to be a lot of stuff and...
There's codes that have been inserted directly into this movie.
Get whatever meaning you can out of it and watch it multiple times. And when it all boils down, it's all meaningless anyway, but it's fun.
I think The Shining is probably the only other movie that you could spend that much time thinking of all the different... We just watched the 4K Shining at the planetarium here, so it was on a 100-foot screen. And it's real hard to miss all the Indian heads facing towards the camera when they're that much...
and that's a movie that I haven't gotten through all the way yet, Room 237. Yeah, a lot of it was more the quality, like a lot of the audio recording.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of it's kind of silly too. So I've taken chunks here and there, but I need to kind of force myself to sit and go through it. I know there is a lot of pretty decent stuff in there, and I
just wish it had been a little better. I agree with you. Yeah, I think watching that and then so many Jodorowsky movies prepared for me for this movie.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Where can people find you if you would like them to do that?
Oh man, you can find me at B&S. That's Becca and Sam. That's what it stands for. B&S About Movies.com, and I think I'm Sam Panico on Twitter and Facebook. But reach out and check out. I'm always watching way too many movies.
A big thanks to Sam for coming on to the show and for basically initiating this episode. As I mentioned in the episode itself, I was just going to sit and read my notes for however long. Seeing that he really liked it, we kind of tweeted back and forth, and this came about. Now, I met Sam on Twitter. I'm not sure who found who first, doesn't really matter, but I read most of his articles, and our taste in movies crisscrosses mostly with older films, the Italian horror films, some of the stuff that he mentions in the bonus episode that I'll be posting soon here. I'm a little more lenient and appreciative, I think, of modern horror. He has more of a taste for exploitation and grindhouse. Not that I don't like some of those, but I think he's a little more forgiving in that area. And so, like I said, I was surprised that he liked this, and that kind of, again, brought this whole thing about. Now, I was thinking about tossing my notes here at the end and kind of playing out with that and fading out with that. And I think what I'll do instead, since this has reached or gone over an hour, I'll do another bonus episode of me reading the notes. That way you can decide whether you want to listen to that nonsense or not. So I'll just put that up, add the score again in the background, and that will be it. So look for that shortly as well. Thanks so much for stopping by. No news and notes this time. If you haven't already done so, if you could hit iTunes and or Apple Podcasts, rate and review the show, that would be awesome. And don't forget to wake up heavy.